Hello, public opinion aficionados, and welcome to Rasmussen Reports. And guess what? We are still talking about legal immigration and my favorite program, the H1B visa. And I know this one personally because of my time at Walmart. Walmart's engineering, even though it's the biggest company in the United States by revenue, is actually almost 70% foreign national. I bet you didn't know that. It almost sounds like a national security issue. That's kind of weird. And I've personally experienced the nepotism. I've personally experienced the way that this program has been used to systematically undermine Americans, especially older ones with families, because it's one of the tools that they use to drive down the price of health insurance that the company has to pay. And you don't hear a lot of people talking about that. And so this has been a theme recently of the Trump administration, the way in which, listen, this wasn't really about Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. The 2024 election in November was a referendum on institutional trust because even though Kamala Harris convinced 49% of the country to vote for her, only 30% trust the federal government. Well, the number of people who trust corporations is even lower. It's in the 20s. We have an oligarchy and it's milking our country dry. And until Donald Trump acknowledges that and takes some very visible steps to fight the oligarchy, I think he's done some of it. I really don't think that he's going to be able to provide to America the type of economic change that the younger generations especially need. But we have new polling back on immigration, and we're going to use it specifically to help you understand public opinion and why most policymakers get everything completely wrong. But a quick stop in on Donald Trump's approval. This is today's snapshot, and approve is back up to 47. I think it got down to 44. Disapprove is at 51. So he's underwater 4 points, a -4 net approval. I think it got down to -8 or -9. This is back up to kind of where he was in September territory. And GOP approval, still 81%, 58% strong approve. Democrats at 17, independents at a pretty strong -7. They were -27 on election day just 2 weeks ago. Now, how can that be? Well, there's something called response bias, and the Republican numbers haven't really changed, but the independents who are showing up to answer the poll now, aren't as leftist or angry as the ones 2 or 3 weeks ago. But that matters because that's what happens on election day. Whoever's motivated shows up, whoever's pissed off stays home. And it's, in my opinion, less about people actually changing their mind between candidates. And before we get into everything, check this live stream out I went to the White House this week, and I was actually able to give the administration some advice, some, in my opinion, much needed advice about how they can craft a message that will appeal to the younger generations, because that's really the problem. The Republican Party is the party of traditional conservatism, boomer values, and the young ones just aren't having it. So we really go into some great examples here, some really ridiculous stuff. Like, for instance, a majority of conservatives under 40 support giving total control of the government and policymaking to an advanced artificial intelligence. That tells you what young conservatism is. It has nothing to do with economic libertarianism and everything to do with the iron fist of order. And I haven't finished watching this yet, but clearly Tucker Carlson is on the same theme. He just interviewed Nikki Haley's son, and it's like, okay, well, why are people going to Nick Fuentes? Well, it's because they aren't finding the answers in the current version of conservatism. Their American future was stolen from them, and they want it back, and they want drastic action in order to make it happen. But again, we're talking about immigration, and I think the H-1B program and visa programs like it are one of the reasons that young voters are having a tough time right now. It's not really grocery prices. It's the fact that basically all of the good jobs were given away to the rest of the world. And we'll look at it. Is that something that shows up in the polling? Well, believe it or not, the H-1B program is actually overwhelmingly popular, but it's also a very, very big severity issue for Donald Trump's core base. Young men who are trying to start off in the world, build a family, buy a house, and they can't do it. One of the reasons is because wages have stagnated, especially for entry-level employees. Now, this happened after my trip to Washington, and I can tell that he's sort of working on the message here. I don't think he totally has it 100%. Let's just take a listen to what he said last night when he was talking about the new investments in artificial intelligence that are going to be pouring into this country to make chips.
And you're coming here and you find if we don't have people that did that before, we are allowing you, and I may take a little heat. I always take a little heat from my people, the people that love me and the people that I love. They happen to be toward the right of center, toward the right. Sometimes they're way right. But if you have to bring people to get those plants opened, we want you to do that. And we want those people to teach our people how to make computer chips and how to make other things. You can't come in, and I'm explaining, You can't come in, open up a massive computer chip factory for billions and billions of dollars like is being done in Arizona and think you're going to hire people off an unemployment line to run it. They're going to have to bring thousands of people with them, and I'm going to welcome those people. Now, I love my conservative friends. I love MAGA, but this is MAGA. And those people are going to teach our people how to make computer chips. And in a short period of time, our people are going to be doing great. And those people can go home where they probably always want to be. You know, when people are born someplace, they tend to want to go, and we have the greatest country in the world, but they.
Yeah, I guess he gets it. But again, he made it about these skilled people when 99% of the H1B program isn't really about that. So I think we have a conflation of problems here, one that's going to continue to drive a rift. Now, I think this is better. I think people are giving him a pass for this. But how many thousands of people do you need to train people to run a plant? Like, talk about the jobs that it's going to bring to the area. Focus on the economic impact. And he's not even really that far off from the base, but then he underscores that this puts him at odds with the base. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's getting better, but here's Ann Vandersteel's response, and I thought it was thoughtful. Open letter to President Trump. Mr. President, when you talk about bringing workers from Saudi Arabia to staff new chip manufacturing plants, you know your supporters are going to have questions, and here's why. A semiconductor plant doesn't appear overnight. From the first spark of an idea to permitting, financing, construction, and finally opening the doors, the timeline typically stretches 5 to 10 years. And that's exactly why many of us are frustrated. These projects require long planning horizons, but so does preparing the workforce. It takes years to build the trade schools and technical programs that train Americans to design, build, and operate these facilities. But those schools could have been built in parallel with the early stages of plant planning. Nothing stopped us from starting in 2017 during your first administration when it was already clear that the global chip shortage and supply chain vulnerabilities were coming. If we had launched those educational programs back then, we would have already had a generation of skilled workers ready to fill these jobs today. Well, this is Monday morning quarterbacking a little. Instead, Americans are told that foreign labor will fill the gap, even temporarily, while our own people are struggling with inflation, soaring housing costs, its high interest rates, and a job market where wages no longer support a decent life. That is the core problem. You don't really hear Donald Trump putting his arms around the entire core problem. Families are delaying having children because they simply can't afford them. These are not abstract economic trends. These are real consequences felt in households across the country. Education is the key. Investing in American workers is the key. And many of us believe that if we start training our people early and aggressively instead of reacting at the last minute, we wouldn't need to rely on outside labor at all. That's why your base is concerned, Mr. President, not because they oppose growth, but because they know we could have been already growing, and we want to make sure we never miss that opportunity again. Now, I don't 100% agree with it, but I think she raises a lot of interesting points. We could train workers today. Listen, the Navy trained people to run nuclear reactors out of high school in 12 months. I mean, it doesn't require all that much, but my main concern is, again, these are 5 to 10 year time horizons, and Donald Trump's got 349 days or whatever it is until it looks like the Democrats win the House in the midterm elections. And so we need a real come to Jesus moment where everyone understands the full scope of the problem and that Donald Trump is arraying the Republican Party in a whole of government approach to address the wage, job, affordability situation. And whatever, last night wasn't that bad, but I don't think it's good enough. I just don't. And the problem, in my opinion, is the H1B program and drastically scaling back the abuse would be that short-term fix that the labor market desperately needs to juice wages. And right now, Americans think the program is popular, and that's because Donald Trump's messaging is defending it. In my opinion, this is an opportunity for leadership to show America what the problem is and tell America the results of what would happen if he takes aggressive action against corporate scamming. Smash the oligarchy. Don't be the oligarchy. So this is today's story. H1B visas. Voters are worried about a flood of foreign workers. And what we do here on Rasmussen Reports, hit that like button and subscribe, is go straight to the numbers, straight to the crosstabs. The federal H1B visa program allows U.S. companies to temporarily employ foreign workers in specialty occupations such as technology. Do you approve or disapprove of the H1B program? And 64% of America approves, only 26% disapproves. You can say I'm shilling for the establishment. You can call me a sellout, whatever you want to do. These numbers are not fake. Americans support the H1B program by much more than a 2-to-1 margin, including 67% of men who, quite frankly, are probably most affected by this, and including 65% of voters 18 to 29 who are also most likely to be affected by this. The millennials love this thing, 72%. Everyone loves this thing. Even the 65 and olders. White voters love it. Black voters love it. Hispanic voters love it. Democrats love it. Republicans love it. 57% of Republicans support the H-1B program. Only 35% of Republicans don't. Conservatives love it, 55%. And guess what? I bet you even Donald Trump voters would love it. Yep, it's less of them. And this, in my opinion, shows the divide between Republicans and Donald Trump voters, which includes some crossover Democrats and independents. But this number here is 54%, so a majority to only 37%. Pretty clear. Pretty clear. Everyone loves the H-1B program. Does everyone in technology that's been laid off in the last 4 years to make way for an H-1B love the program? Clearly not. But they are not a majority of Americans. However, what happens in Washington, D.C. is that every pollster in the entire city will only run that first question. And that's what every politician down there thinks. Everybody loves the H-1B programs, and that's great because the corporations love it too. No, people hate the corporations, and we're about to see what they really think about the H-1B program when you scratch the surface. Obviously, there's a disconnect. When only 27% of Americans think today's children will be better off than their futures, obviously there's something going wrong, and obviously it might have something to do with policies that are based on stupid numbers. Everybody supports this. Yeah, well, everybody supports free money too, but we don't have it. Which is closer to your opinion? Foreign workers are necessary to keep U.S. high-tech industries competitive, 38%, or high technology companies just use foreign workers because it's cheaper than hiring Americans, 48%. So that response, the plurality's winner there, is plus 10. And what's weird is that the 18 to 29s are most split. They don't really get it, but they're also new in the workforce, and they don't have the history that everybody else has. Look at the millennials. This is where leadership matters. If this is affecting the youth, I mean, they sort of have some problems right now. They're gleefully going into the arms of Nick Fuentes. If they have problems, you might want to understand what they are, even though they might not know what they are themselves. Make a better world for them. And it's wild that the boomer government with boomer values isn't really considering that. Democrats think we need this program, 50% to only 36% who think it's being gamed for lower wages. But Republicans think it's being gamed 60% to 27%. And with independents, they also think it's being gamed by 10 points. But here's the kicker. And this is a quote from Laura Ingram's interview with Donald Trump that freaked everybody out in the first place, that gave me 300 DMs on Twitter, all these people throwing their hats in the garbage. Do you agree or disagree with this statement? America doesn't need to flood the country with foreign workers because we already have plenty of talented people here. This was the major quote. And 32% strongly agree, another 29% somewhat agree, 61%, and 33% disagree, only 12% disagree strongly. So here's the thing. People hear H-1B and they're like, sure, bring them in. They're talented. We need that. And then they say, well, what about job scarcity? And what do we have too many people here? Are we being flooded? We don't need to be flooded. We need to protect our jobs. It's probably better for our children. Oh, yeah. 2-to-1. 2-to-1 Americans say that. Men slightly more than women. A majority, 54% of voters under 30. They finally start to get it. Pretty much no age signal. Everybody across the board, every race across the board. Democrats are split 45% to 45%. 45% of Democrats talking about not needing to flood the country with workers. but 78% of Republicans. This is where the base is at. Only 6% of Republicans strongly disagree that we don't need to flood the country with foreign workers because we already have plenty of talented people here. Republicans don't think that we need this talent, and Donald Trump defended the talent. That is the break. 82% of Trump voters agree with that statement. Only 14% disagree. Only 4% disagree strongly. So this is the rub. Donald Trump is telling everybody that he's going to be able to get the prices down, which I don't think he's going to be able to, and that H1B is a good program when most of his voters think it's being used to flood the country with cheap labor. But then there's this. Like, this is the core problem. Everybody was concerned about prices and inflation. Donald Trump just can't say, I'm going to lower grocery prices. Trust me, bro, they're going to come down, and that's going to fix everything, because it's not. This is a capitalism problem. This is a corporatism problem. This is an oligarchy problem, because people are still concerned about inflation. 54% very concerned, another 27% somewhat concerned. So what's that? 81% pretty concerned. Only 5% are not at all concerned. And I bet you the Republican numbers are pretty high. This isn't voters. This is all adults. 74% of Republicans and 88% of Democrats. So Donald Trump's getting a little benefit of the doubt from his own party. But here's the problem. Are prices for groceries now higher or lower than they were 6 months ago? And even though Donald Trump is showing that chart about the inflation rate coming down, the price of groceries has not dropped, and Americans confirm this. 66% say the prices are higher, only 13% say lower, and 18% say about the same. And let's just look at independents. Again, Republicans are giving Donald Trump a little bit more benefit of the doubt there, but still a plurality say that grocery prices are higher. But independents say higher, 66% to only 10%. Now, gasoline is objectively lower, and still Donald Trump isn't really getting credit. And that's because people are still getting squeezed, and they're not going line item by line item and saying, okay, my gas is down. Now we just got to work on groceries. The entire economy needs an overhaul. It's okay. It's okay to acknowledge that. Tell Americans what has to be done to fix it. Lay out the case, set the expectations, build a plan with Republicans, and get it done. And I told that to Donald Trump. I called it the fight, fight, fight plan for Americans. Basically, you need pragmatic economic populism to reorder the country. Okay, yeah, do the tariffs, get the investments here, deport as many illegal aliens as possible, but also get rid of these higher value jobs that have been stolen from Americans. Beat up companies on offshoring, tax remittances. You got to go after this stuff. It's got to get into the reconciliation bill if that's the last thing you have. Tell Americans what the 3-year plan is and deliver on 1 year of it before the midterm elections. The second prong of the fight, fight, fight plan, visible institutional reform. Show Americans that you've fixed the FBI, you've fixed the CIA, you've fixed the IRS. The DOD has been audited. All of these things that Americans thought they were going to get out of DOJ. And finally, the third one, get rid of the corporatists. Beat them up. Cut off the corporate welfare. People hate the corporations, and they know they're the ones behind this. Stop hugging them on TV. Stop inviting the billionaires into the White House. Go after these companies, because if you don't, if the Republicans don't win, we're probably going to be Democrat socialists. If you've learned something, make sure to like the video and subscribe. Follow us on X at Rasmussen_poll and myself at Honest Pollster. You can watch our videos on YouTube at Rasmussen_poll and Rasmussen_rewind, and on Rumble at Rasmussen Reports. We stream multiple times a week on Twitter, Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, and Getter. Thanks for watching.